Welcome to the stage. And next up, please welcome คุณธนช ตั้งศรีวงศ์ CyberAgent Ventures. And next up, the stage is you. Please welcome Mr. Adrian Stewart from Galaxy Ventures. The fora is you, Mr. Jeffrey Paine from Golden Gate Ventures. And of course, we have business moderator will make the fun to the stage. Please welcome ขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับผู้ดำเนินรายการพิเศษของเราในช่วงนี้นะคะดร.ทิพวรรณ ปิ่นวณิชกุลรองอธิการบดีฝ่ายการเงินและทรัพย์สินมหาวิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีพระจอมเกล้าธนบุรีค่ะพร้อมด้วยดร.โกศล ทรัพย์ประเสริฐ Head of Innovation SCB และขออนุญาตส่งมอบเวทีแห่งนี้ให้กับทุกท่านค่ะ
Thanks a lot. We just have an agreement before we go up on the stage that we will try to be less formal, right? So let me introduce our speaker once again. We have Kun Mamiao, Kun Paradar, and she is from 500 Tuk Tuk as a senior investment manager. And next is Kun Chat. He prefers us to call him Kun Chat, or Thanachat Tang Si Wong from CyberAgent Ventures, and he is the chief representative of Bangkok office. Next is Mr. Adrian Stewart from Galaxy Ventures. He is a partner from Galaxy Ventures. And the last one, but not least, Mr. Jeffrey or Jeff Paine from Golden Gate Ventures.
I think it may be a good idea that we start with something a bit informal, right? But I'm just a bit confused myself, between this session and the previous one, because both of the sessions are about the money, right? So I cannot really differentiate the previous one, which was about international VC and investment opportunities, and this one, Thai startup investment opportunities. Can you say something about it? Are you guys bigger than the guys that just came down, or different focus, different scope? And in this way, I think you can tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, what you're good at, who are you?
I think a big difference is we're not wearing ties. That's one difference. They were wearing ties, we were not wearing ties. But I think there is a very big. When you use the word VC, it covers a lot of things. So maybe they are from more bank or financial kind of VCs. There are VCs who are actually more supportive at the seed stage. There are VCs who are more supportive at the later stage. So I guess we are probably at the earlier stage in a startup's life cycle. Okay, probably, Jeff.
Yeah, and it also could be they wanted to probably look at companies that are much more scalable outside one country. So I've been asked this many times, whether I would invest in companies that only stay here in Thailand, and my answer is definitely yes. So maybe that's one trade-off.
Yeah, maybe just similar to what Jeff has just mentioned. We truly believe in the companies that could win the local market first before they go regional or even global. So that might be one of the biggest difference from those guys.
Well, they took all the answers. So yeah, it's going to be like similar to what they say. Like there are like many source of income, and like we are focusing on like seed and early stage and tech companies. Yep.
I have another question to follow up right away. And why is that? Do you have too little money compared to those guys, or is just your strategy why the local means a lot better?
Like I think we understand like the market really well, because as we are the local, we know what they want. Like they can tell us directly what exactly do they need. Yeah, and you know, like sometimes it's not just about the money.
Yeah, just to add on to what Kun Mamio just mentioned as well. CyberAgent Ventures ourselves is the VC arm of CyberAgent Group, which is one of the biggest internet group in Japan as well. And we believe that what we bring to the table is not just money. We believe that we bring the expertise. That we believe that we could grow the business from scratch because CyberAgent itself was a startup before. So those are the ideologies that we believe we will invest in only the things that we believe we can help them grow.
Maybe they are financial VCs, right? So perhaps more from banks or financial institutions. But seriously, for tech startups, I think there's what we call smart money and dumb money, right? So smart money adds value to the investment by providing you expertise, perhaps access to market, connections, and building a business. So like Chad mentioned, right? CyberAgent was a startup. They know how to go through the different stages, right? I ran businesses myself before, many of which have failed. So, I also know how to start up and how to fail and how not to fail, right? So those things are actually value added to startups, not just money, right? It's not always just about money.
I think in this case, Jeff, I got some advantage of having known this company before. So I think in this case it can be a little bit more tangible, right? You can even mention some small companies that you guys have already invested in to make it very clear what it means by your focus on local firms and the firms that may or may not scale to other countries. What are those examples and why?
Yeah, so the question is the local part. So my answer from the previous question is there are always problems in every country. So we tend to focus on the problems and try to figure out who the locals are trying to solve the problem. So that's the first answer. Then the answer to, I guess your question on an example would be probably, I think we've done a very interesting, really, really young company in Vietnam. They're from Ho Chi Minh City. So it's a very simple app that they build. And by they, I mean one guy. So the entire company, and I mean there's no company. So there's one guy who built two apps, right? He built everything, front end, back end, iOS, Android. It's very simply a Wi-Fi password sharing app in Vietnam. And when we found him, he was making rather a lot of money on advertising that he can quit school. He's only 22. So he built it when he was in school. He made enough money, and then he didn't know what to do with it. So he has more than 5 million downloads. He's making fairly a lot of money. So the question for him was, why did you build this? And for me, coming from Singapore, I don't pretty much understand the local context until he told me, right? So in Vietnam, if you've been there, most people eat food on the streets, right? The street stores. Have you seen those really small tables and low chairs, right? But these vendors have no Wi-Fi, right? So when you are sitting there trying to play games as a 20 to 30-year-old, during lunchtime, you have to kind of like eat quickly and go. But there's a lot of Wi-Fi, across the street in the cafes and restaurants, but it's all password protected, right? So it's not polite to go across and ask for the password when you're not a customer, correct? So he built the app because he wants to play games while he was eating on the street. And it just went viral because people just shared the passwords. And then everybody log on and then shared again and again and again and again and again.
Right, and to be fair, I think these guys also, got some, maybe made some investment before and may want to share some small examples in a very concise manner.
So, example, right? Look at Facebook, right? in Thailand, a lot of people use Facebook. I mean, there was a report, 51% of all e-commerce is done through social media. This is something unique to Thailand. We are leading the world here. I mean, people in America don't use Facebook for shopping, right? So we invested in one company called Page 365 that actually helps merchants to utilize and manage Facebook messages much easier. So example of things like Jeff mentioned, there are local problems, and local people know local problems better. And we support startups in Thailand to fix those problems that occur in this market.
Well, just to add on what Adrian just mentioned, because we did make the investments that are quite similar, in terms of the space that they're operating in, which is stall hunt. Because there are a lot of girls inside this room, of course, even Ajahn Tip here, because, girls in Thailand, they do shop online for clothes, right? But they go on Facebook, they go on Instagram, they go online. They don't really go to like Zalora, for example. This is the very unique behavior. And, based on our research, social commerce market represents as much as 70% of those, online apparel markets. So this is a very unique thing, and we saw the potential in which I think, the foreigners from some countries might overlook. They might not even understand like why this is the case. But Bangkok is #1 Facebook city in the world. Just fact.
The other example that I want to bring up here is like very, very unique problem of Thai people is that we are not always have, money in the pocket, and and like we don't really have credit card, and nowadays we have to use credit cards for everything, like to book the hotel, to like buy stuff online. And one of our portfolio companies, they do have e-wallet where you can create the credit card online, and it's called T2P, and I think it really like helps a lot of Thai people who really wants to go online, and they can like shopping using this like e-credit card. So I think like it really solve the pain point of Thai people.
Well, okay, I think from these 2-3 questions, we have seen that how this VC do the business. I think this brings us a very interesting question. For me, the following question is like mysterious as well, because you guys know that the startup, they everywhere in the world. So what are the mechanisms that you, or where do you, how do you sourcing for the potential startup or the potential ideas, or what are the platform that you normally seek for the potential startups?
Well, I don't think there's exactly like a platform where we source deals, because actually deals are everywhere, like, and startups are everywhere, because like you probably don't know, like there's someone building $1 million startup in a garage, and like how would we get like to know them? Yeah. Anyways, so we have like many ways to source deals. Like first of all, they come to us, and second of all, like, and this might be a better approach, which is like referral. Well, you get to the startups community. Like every country has that one person that knows everyone in the startup community, and then if you're good enough, they'll refer deals to us, and if you are good enough, we will reach out to you. Like we can track you down.
Referral is actually very, very crucial in our space. Just imagine that, when you got recommended to buy something from your friend, compare that to, being recommended by a random salesperson. Who would you trust more, right? Especially, this risky, investments in a very emerging space in an emerging country. I think this is actually very, very important. And, for the startups that are quite new to the space, I would really encourage them to basically get involved more with the startup community in Thailand to be exposed more so that they could be referred, to some other investors if they are really cool.
Exactly.
So there are some interesting programs like DTech Accelerate, for instance, right? Where they run incubation programs. So those are areas where probably as we know the people in DTech, so they invite us to be our judges or observers, and we understand and discover startups there. But I don't like to use the word sourcing because it makes it feel as though we are buying something, looking to buy something,
Thank
right?
you.
I would rather use the word discovery. But actually, before you invest into a startup, for me, it's not, hey, I like this, I want to invest. I think it's a lot more than that. It's understanding the founders, it's finding a match. Maybe it's a bit like getting married. You don't want to work with a VC just because he's got money. Or maybe you do, I don't know, but you don't want to do that, right? But you got to, if we invest, we want to work with founders that we think we can help. We want to work with ideas that we understand. I don't understand agriculture, agri-tech, so I won't invest in agri-tech, things like that. Okay? So it's not really sourcing, so to speak.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe you partly answered the second questions already. Maybe I ask the second questions and Jeff can answer both questions at the same time. So it's like when you have in mind that potential startup, but how do you assess that you choose the right one? You know that startup is very risky, right? But which factor do you consider the most important one to choose the right startup then? Jeff, can you please?
Yeah, I think for the first question, for me, sourcing, I think is just spending time with the community. That's for me. So I do still code, so I do spend time with the developers in different cities in the region. Spend time to give advice, even though some of them probably are not good founders, but they will eventually be a good first hires for some of my portfolios. So, but as we get more and more busy, that's a little bit harder to do. So I'll try to do as much as I can. And because we're based in Singapore, we tend to travel a lot, so we have to make a lot of friends. So friends that are in the community, usually will refer very interesting companies to us. And for the second question, I don't know. I think I look for the same kind of chemistry, same kind of a wavelength. Their vision to solve a certain problem is something that I understand. I can get behind it. I also want to do it, right? So instead of doing it myself, I'll back him to do it in that sense. And definitely love to see someone who are motivated enough so that they will not give up so quickly. And lastly, they have to show me that they can execute. Right? I think execution is, some people say it's a commodity, you can buy it, but a lot of times it's the ability to execute and listen to customers and listen to some people and then change direction along the way. So that is actually pretty hard to find. So usually we try to track people over some time before we invest.
Well, let me get this straight. So actually to invest is much beyond to put in the money. It's like finding a good couple. Is it like that? So that you guys have to maybe, go hang out together for quite a bit, and then you see if it's right, if you guys can go along, and then you say, hey, okay, let's get married. Is it something like that?
Yes, that's a lot. It's more than just the proposal or the presentation. So, sometimes you do have to know what are the founders' greatest fears, which usually they don't tell you. They don't even tell their co-founder, right? Let alone tell an investor. So you have to dig it out slowly over time. Sometimes for me, I even have to get to know their family, their wives, their girlfriends, just to know they are not weird, right? They're kind of picking their friends properly. Yeah, so it takes a bit of time to get to know somebody.
Is it the same for you guys as well? It's like finding a good couple?
Yeah, let me say for 500, we really do pay attention to founders as well. We'll never, decide to invest right away if we've never met the team, because like as he said, like it's like finding a couple because we're gonna work together for like really long time actually, and we don't want to like founders who fight with each other because that's what breaks up the business the most, So we make sure the founders they work together well and like they they have an entrepreneurial spirit and they just won't give up. Right.
Yeah, you see the pattern here because this might sound really cliche, and I might actually get booed from my panel mates, but billion dollars business starts with a $1 billion team. That's first thing first. It starts with the team, and the team starts with the founder. If there's no founder who makes all his founding members believe into his ideas, there's not going to be the team. And apart from the fact that the team is actually very crucial, so we have to get to know what is actually how they operate, how do they actually roll together as a team. Do they skill sets actually complement each other? Do they really have a passion about what they're trying to do, right? But second factor that at least for CyberAgent Ventures we look at is the market itself. We want to make sure that the company is operate in the right business at the right time. They're not in a business that is actually large in sheer size but in the declining trend. We don't want that to happen. But for the business itself in a very idiosyncratic fashion, in the startups jargons we always use the term unicorn as a company that is being valued over $1 billion, right? But actually my favorite type of creature is cockroach, แมลงสาบนะครับ Why is that so? It's because the cockroach is a creature that has been around for probably 300 million years. It survived a mass extinction that killed all the dinosaurs, killed our ancestors maybe. It has the ability to adapt, and that is actually the very, very key factor to make a company successful. Also, it reproduces very quickly, so that actually represents the scalability of the business. So, forget about the unicorns. I think we're all looking for cockroaches now.
So Kunchat used the cockroach model, okay? What will you say?
So I want to say something about ideas and founders and teams, right? So three of them have already mentioned that they look at team, they look at market size. No one talked about idea, right? Why? Because ideas, everyone has ideas. It's the ability to execute your idea. And executing your idea means knowing if your market is big enough to want your idea, right? So I think it comes back to that. But really, I'd like to mention that founders, whenever you have a founding team, founders can also break up. In a founding team, co-founders, 3 people, 5 people, 6 people, there always needs to be a leader. Someone must come up as to be a leader. You cannot all be equal founders. Someone needs to control everybody. So don't try to always aim to be equal for everything. You got to give someone leadership in a startup to bring the startup forward as well.
Okay, so, that is quite interesting, and I think here there are so many startups. So one thing that still to me myself, who never run startup, always ask myself that is there such a thing as like a signal or ticker point that tell you that now you should go and look for VC? Even though each VC have its focus on certain stage, but still, for example, in the seed stage, some startup they already have like full prototype, but some they don't have yet. But what could be a signal and tell the startup that now you should go to look for the fund already?
Yeah, I would like to say that not every startup has to go to VCs. It's more sustainable if you can bootstrap your own business. But if you ask about the trigger point where where you need to go to VCs or angel investor, is when you have your idea already cleared and you get exactly what you want to do, and you got your team ready, and then all you need is money or mentor. You have to be ready at least, like it's not like you get an idea yesterday and then you email to us and yeah, like, okay, please give me money. It's not like that. So I think like the stage that you come to us it really depends because, you are the founders, you know best. So we can't really answer for you. But yeah, like, let's see. How would you address this?
So I think, Mamil, you just gave another message, a very important one. Again, it's not just about the money. It's much beyond that. I repeat the word that I just said. So when the small guys, the startups come to see you, right, they can expect a lot more than that, right? So you talked about the mentorship, the money, of course, and also maybe some facilities, networking, marketing power, and so on. Is that right? Or you have anything to extend?
Yeah, actually for 500, like 500 Tuk Tuk, right? And like we also have the fund for the Southeast Asia called 500 Durians and then the Global Fund. So in terms of, opportunity and connections, mentorship, well, we kind of have like a runway. If you successfully raise fund in Thailand, then we can send you to like the Southeast Asia level and then even global level. So it really depends on your stage of business, your nature of business, your market to choose each VC. Yep. And for the mentorship, I think this is a bit personal because like everyone has their own idol. So yeah, I think like I'm here to like represent my team also, Pimu and Pikerting. So like, I think like there are a big lot of like idols to the startups. So yeah, I think like it matters a lot, like what we can provide startups. It's not just about the money; it's a mentorship too.
There's one more thing though. I heard from Jeff the other day. Very interesting. They even helped the startup to build a team. Right? I have this pain, I have my own unit at the bank, right? And it's like to recruit the talents is a pain in the, So how can you help them actually?
Yeah, I think as the region gets more competitive, hiring the best people is going to be challenging. So internally, we do have our own recruiting process. We're going to be hiring our own internal recruiter who is fairly famous in the region. But again, it's about going there, helping them on a day-to-day basis. So the moment you receive funding, the first thing in your mind is to increase headcount. Not all the time, but most of the time. And then every founding team are good at something, but they are not good at everything, right? So recruiting is one part that usually they are pretty weak at. So if they are from a marketing background, maybe marketing skill sets or marketing departments they can handle, but everything else they're going to be a little bit weak. So we will try to come in to help them with as much as possible. Sometimes it's the lower layer, sometimes the senior teams. So I think every firm also probably have the same kind of sort of skill set to help recruit. Yeah.
We talk about funding, but can we now talk about not being funded, right? So my opinion, if a startup is not funded, it does not mean that you will die. It does not mean that you will never be successful. You can be successful, maybe you will not be a unicorn, but you will at least be a cockroach, right? You can be a very profitable business. So it comes back to always about your idea, your market, and your ability to execute that idea. Just because you don't get funded, just because you don't win a pitching competition does not mean you're lousy, does not mean you will die. So you should actually persevere and move on if you have a belief and passion in what your idea is. So I think we need to talk about not getting funded, right? We talk about funded, everyone talks about getting money, but what about those people who don't? What do they do? What do you do to them?
So to add, 95% of you will not get funded. Understand? So that's the stats. The signal to get funding is not because your server crashing there's too many users and your server is crashing. Not all the time, sometimes, but not all the time. There are startups that have 10 million downloads of a game and they still die, right? So it's got nothing to do with that, right? If it's a big problem and it's worthwhile doing it, probably that's a good signal. But like I said, 95% of you probably won't get funding anyway. So you have to survive on your own. You have to survive on revenues. You can survive on angels, family money, banks borrowing, etc. That you don't have to take the VC route. I've always said this to people, like the best business actually is not to take money. Because the moment you take money, you're not the boss anymore. Do you know this? You know this, right? Yeah. So your dream to start a company is because you want to be the king of the world. The moment you take money, you're at the bottom of everything, right? Because above you are your employees and then your shareholders, right? And your board, right? You are at the bottom. So the best is actually a lifestyle business that you start with no board members, you are the only one, right? And you can work 2 days a week. Nobody cares because you are the king of the world, right? So that's the best business actually.
You all took my line already.
If you make money, like Jeff said, then the VC will come to you.
Yes.
We will find
Yes.
you. You don't have to find us.
We made the investments not because you take the money, but we make the investments because you make the money.
That means there is a market that wants your product. That means we can help you to make it grow faster. So I think you should spend time focusing on building your business and making sure it meets the market need rather than spend time pitching to VCs every day, right?
I'm a bit curious here. You guys seem so like friends. So actually, aren't you guys competitors? How do you guys work together at all? Because I think I just got a chance to look at the topic of this panel, which is about opportunities and the road ahead, right? So I would like to know, you're gonna be like Liverpool, like you never walk alone, you walk together, or what? Like how do you guys do this?
Okay, I'll go. So let's see. Yeah, so we started in 2012. I started in 2010 when I brought Founder Institute to Singapore. So back then, 2010, 2012, there was no money, period, right? So the only way startups can get funded is we collaborate. So the culture of co-investing is, started in 2010. So one example is like RedMart, right? The online grocery company in Singapore, which we invested in. Their first round of $1 million US has 30 investors. That doesn't happen here anymore. So that entire thing has changed a little bit, but the culture of doing deals is still a little bit the same, right? We still share, we still want to have different people with different mindsets, different skill sets, and sometimes different geographies. So for me, the best deals actually, because I'm from Singapore, so the best deals will go to actually the local angels that invest in the first round. This is by far always true. Jakarta, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, all true. So I am perfectly okay to give that to the locals because I need the locals to help me. So if I come in the next round, I want them to be there too. If I come in, let's say a large first round, I also want a local to be sitting with me because I'm not Thai, I don't have an office here. So that's kind of my strategy.
We have, for instance, we have co-invested with 500 for Scooter. So we can co-invest. We exchange ideas, we exchange deals, we exchange information, we talk. We are friends, we are not competitors. Yeah.
Right, exactly what he said. Like we co-invest in many deals together. So yeah, we mostly, are friends. We don't compete.
Yes,
we also exchange intelligence. So we say, hey, is this founder good? No, is that founder good? So we also talk about founders.
Exactly. The degree of collaboration in this particular sector is unbelievable, let me tell you. You know, when I have the opportunities that are really, really cool, these are the guys that I normally call, hey, are you interested? Are you in?
Yeah, like let's invest together like that. Yeah.
We're more like, you know, helping this company to get to another level rather than, oh, I should find somebody else to compete with 500's portfolio companies. It's not the case at all. And also, you know, just to basically add what Jeffrey has mentioned, you know, when you're foreign investors coming to Thailand, as for, you know, for example, you know, Thailand is an emerging country, right? Tech startup is a very, very risky business. It's like you double down the risk, right? You're investing in a very risky business in a very, very risky country, like Thailand, for example. So unless you have the locals who actually wanted to get their hands dirty, prove that, okay, these guys are cool. From the local perspective, these guys are who we believe we can trust, and we want to get them to the next level. When Jeffrey or, you know, even Adrian came to Thailand, then they were just, okay, these guys have the support from a very, very trustworthy local investors. Why don't we just try to build it together, hand in hands? That's how we roll, yeah.
Like this company, for example, right?
Exactly.
I have heard that, yeah.
Exactly.
Got a note from Claim D, right? So what will you say, Adrian? Do you have any comment more? No? Okay.
And now my last question from my side, if you guys would like to continue, that's okay. But you know, actually the next session, the final one today, which is about corporate venture investment strategy in startups, there'll be people from banks and there'll be people from telcos, okay? And I heard that actually, you know, they have set up something maybe dangerous as well, right? You see them as competitors, or you think you can work with banks, or you can work with telcos as well? And in what way you think you can, you know, yeah.
I think they are all part and parcel of building an ecosystem, right? So first you have angel investors, then you have VCs, and then now you have corporate investors, because they now see that, hey, these are real things that they can be involved in. They have customers, they have access to networks, they have a lot more that they can contribute. So I think they would be a very good supporter of startups. And if there's any, if there's any startup that's actually funded by a telco or DTech Accelerate, I immediately
that's
am
good
more
one
interested.
by SCB called Digital Venture, by the way.
I lose track of all the names. Yeah, I lose track of all the names, yeah.
Okay, I like to add a bit that like 500 we do seed funding, you know, like the very, very, like not very, very, but like kind of like early stage of, you know, companies. And mostly, you know, banks and, you know, bigger corporate VCs, they do bigger stage. So it's kind of like, they're like segments. So we, you know, we still don't compete, you know, and like 500 and DTech Accelerate, you know, like we are really good allies.
Oh, when we say, like competition, that word?
Competition.
It's more like, you know, passing the torch. Let's say we, you know, probably 500, you know, Golden Gate or, you know, even Galaxy Ventures invested in the very early stage. They passed the torch to CyberAgent Ventures. We double down on that. And then we pass it on to the banks, right? Yeah, finally SCV is coming with those big funding. So we pass it along. So it's more of like passing the torch. Keep the torch going to make sure this company is going to be successful, going to set the new milestones for the whole business.
So I have two things to say. One is a major component of building an ecosystem is you need local demand. So you need local private companies and governments to buy from startups. So with corporates setting up VCs and then co-investing with us and working with the startups that are coming up, that generates local demand. On the second point is 4 or 5 years ago, you know, e-commerce started booming. A lot of times it's because of Rocket Internet's education to the market, right? But I think recently a lot of B2B startups are doing well is because I think the corporates, telcos and banks are introducing B2B cloud services to their SME customers. So now they are kind of understanding what the category is, and they're trying to spend more money and make their own business more efficient. So now it's easier to kind of start a B2B company than before.
Okay, thanks a lot. The staff at the ground floor told me that we have only 5 minutes left, so maybe this is the last question. And I think it is very interesting for the startup that I think the suggestion from you as a global player is very interesting. What can the Thai startup do so that they can reach the point to get the support from the global investor? What could be your suggestion? Because like Jeff just mentioned that the local angel or a local investor will reach you first, but in terms of startup, they may seek for the global fund like that. So what could be your suggestion?
I can start with the questions. I would like to say we don't, we won't suggest you to go from point A to point D. We suggest you to if you are starting a business, you might start with an angel investor first, and then seek local VCs, and then come to follow your steps. If you are really small companies and then you reach out for global VCs, I don't know if that's gonna be easy for Thai companies, but right now we have a lot of supports from these guys and us and a lot of banks right now. So I think it's a really good starting point, and then if you get to this point, it's not hard at all to reach to the global stage. And as I mentioned before, 500 we have kind of runway from local to global. So it's not something you should concern with from the beginning, I think.
There is a lot of money in Thailand. And there is a very big market in Thailand as well. I mean, In Touch just invested $1 million, I believe, in Wong Nai, which focuses only on Thailand, and they has no plans to do anything outside of Thailand. So why do you need global VC?
So I have some data points for you. So the first thing is to attract global funds at seed and Series A, you need to be global from day one, and that's about 10% of the deals in Southeast Asia. So all companies, you take 5% and then 10% of that. And it is still extremely risky, right? So that's one data point. Most global guys will come later stage, so Series C, D, E. They'll come here because you are number one in maybe 7 to 10 countries in this region. So that will take a bit of time for you to get there. So from my data, the top companies in Southeast Asia, 90% are copycats, 10% are unique. Majority of B2C is regional from day one, and majority of B2B is global from day one. So if you do B2B, you have to have this global mindset to be on day one, then you'll be very big. B2C, regional from day one. But we are all here because even if you are in one country, you're number one, to us, it's still fine. At least for most of us, we will still invest. So don't have to worry whether you get capital. Just get the right capital to build your company that you want to build. Right? We are here for you.
Yeah, I think it's more of a finding the right fits more than finding a bigger check size. Because global investors also imply bigger check size, but that comes with bigger pressure as well. And my suggestion, what do they need to do to actually attract those global capitals? Basically, you need to scale, just scale.
So I think we have no time left, and it's lucky you that we could not raise the question from the floor. So I'd like to take this chance to thanks a lot for all of our speakers, and please give us a big hand for the speaker.